Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
You are seeing the President of the United States. Look at the lines.
You joined our movement.
A lot of President Trump supporters here.
Greatest movement in the history of our country. I'm fighting for you, and I love doing it with everything that I have. And I will never, ever stop. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. We will make America great again.
Welcome to Team Trump Online.
Ready to go?
This is a crisis.
This is no time for Donald Trump's record of hysterical xenophobia.
Biden's son inked a $1 billion deal with a subsidiary of the Bank of China.
China is going to eat our lunch? Come on, man. They're not bad folks.
Since the outbreak, the Communist Party has been mobilizing overseas organizations to buy local supplies and send them to China.
It is in our self-interest that China continue to prosper. What a beautiful history we wrote together. Banning all travel will not stop it.
The president is right. That travel restriction on China, as every public health official we've talked to said, bought the country time.
That was a very smart move right there.
Hysterical xenophobia. Xenophobia. I complimented him on dealing with China. I'm not going nuts.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Team Trump Online's War Room Weekly, where we take a closer look at President Trump's excellent record of accomplishment on behalf of the American people and contrast that with Joe Biden's record of failure over more than 4 decades in Washington, D.C., and his terrible ideas for the country for the future. I'm Tim Murtaugh. I'm the communications director for the Trump 2020 campaign, and we are fortunate today to be joined by 2 excellent guests who will talk about our topic today, which is illegal immigration. First, former Pennsylvania Congressman Lou Barletta, my former boss. Congressman, good to see you.
We'll see you again, Tim.
And Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Brandon, glad you could be with us.
Very good to be with you. Thank you.
As we start today to talk about illegal immigration, it is also important to note that President Trump has put a halt to legal immigration right now in the wake of the coronavirus, and that's for 2 reasons. First, to protect the continued safety and health of the American people, but more importantly, to protect jobs, as we're in the economic situation the country faces because our economy was artificially interrupted by the coronavirus. The president knows that introducing more competition for the jobs that Americans will be looking for now as we try to recover is a very important stance to take. So that's very important what the president has done. But today we're going to talk about illegal immigration, and there could not be 2 more diametrically opposed candidates on that issue. President Trump, who, as we all know, forcefully stands for the rule of law and protecting America's borders and enforcing our immigration laws, versus Joe Biden, who has mapped out effectively an open borders strategy for the United States. Congressman Barletta, let's start with you. You came to Congress, and illegal immigration was really one of the big things that you tackled during your time in Washington, D.C. Why was it so important to you from Hazleton, Pennsylvania?
It was actually the reason that I ran for Congress, Tim. I was a mayor of a small town in northeastern Pennsylvania, 2,000 miles away from the nearest southern border. It's not a town that you would expect to have an illegal immigration problem, but we did. For whatever reason, we had an illegal immigration problem. Our population in Hazleton grew by 50%, which is a huge growth for a city, but our tax revenues stayed the same. We saw illegal gangs moving into the city. We saw our crime going up. The quality of life in a small city was affected in every way. Our hospitals, for example, the wait time in our hospital usually was about 15 or 20 minutes if you went to an emergency room. It then turned into an 9-hour wait as illegal immigrants were using the emergency room for primary health care. Our schools were affected. It was depressing the wages of the American worker. I created the first law in America as a mayor in dealing with illegal immigration, was sued. by the ACLU and illegal immigrants who sued our city. But I saw firsthand, as Brandon saw at the border, dealing with the problem of people coming in. I saw what happens when they're in the community and trying to deal with it. It depresses the wages of the American worker. The people who are hurt the most, Tim, are the most vulnerable people, middle class men and women, legal immigrants who came to America for a better job, those at the lower end of the economic ladder who now have to compete for their jobs with those that are here illegally. And Donald Trump knows this.
Yeah, and I think Democrats make the mistake of thinking that when they're in the argument about illegal immigration, that they can win the argument with Latino voters simply by saying the words Donald Trump and immigration, and they think that seals the argument. But in fact, it has been our experience and President Trump's experience that if you talk to people who are legal immigrants, or if members of their family before them came to this country by the proper means, if you say to them, hey, listen, you or your family, you obeyed the rules to come to this country, do you think that other people should obey the rules too? And they say, darn right, other people should obey the rules. So I think that there is, what the Democrats fail to understand, and of course the media fails to understand, that there is a visceral reaction to the idea that people should break the law, and it's okay for people to break the law to this country. And I think that President Trump quite obviously is on the right side of this issue. Brandon, you as the leader of the brave men and women who control the borders, the Border Patrol, you see this really on the front end. What's the experience there?
You know, it's interesting, and to piggyback off of what Congressman Barletta just said, when illegal aliens are arrested crossing into the country illegally, they go through an interview, and one of the questions that is asked is, where are they headed to? Where are you going? And they do not stay on the southwest border. Most people think that illegal immigration stays on the southwest border, and that couldn't be further from the truth. A lot of the people that Border Patrol agents arrest, they will say that they're going up to New York, they're going to Atlanta, they're going to Boston. They're going back to the East Coast. They're going to the farming communities in Iowa. They're going to Michigan to get jobs in Michigan. So you have to look at those areas and say, this is not just a southwest border problem. This is a problem throughout the United States. They're going to all of the cities through the United States. And like Congressman Barletta said, they are in fact depressing wages. They're taking jobs away from the American citizens. And when you compare and contrast that with Joe Biden and Donald Trump, you have to look at 8 years that Vice President Biden had the opportunity to get this right. I can personally tell you from 22 years experience in law enforcement that he got it absolutely wrong. The only person that has been introducing policy, operations, programs that have been effective in the last 22 years has been President Trump. And for that reason, the National Border Patrol Council gets behind him and supports him.
Yeah, and I think you just hit on it. When they come across the border, they are telling you that they're, and we know by evidence that they're showing up in these other places like Hazleton, Pennsylvania. And I think many Americans may be tempted to think that this is a problem just along the southern border, but it's not. It affects communities all across the country. And that brings us to the very important topic of sanctuary cities. These localities who say that they will not cooperate with federal immigration authorities, not cooperate with ICE. When people are detained locally by local police, sanctuary cities have a policy in place where they will not turn those folks over to ICE. Now, of course, Joe Biden has a policy of agreeing with the radical left on that issue. Let's hear from Joe Biden and then the president.
Vice President Biden, you opposed sanctuary cities as a presidential candidate in 2007. Where do you stand now? Should undocumented immigrants arrested by local police be turned over to immigration officials?
No.
The Democrat Party's immigration policies empower bloodthirsty cartels that maim, murder, and torture, that smuggle and traffic innocent human beings, that flood our communities with poisonous drugs. The left's immigration policies are not compassionate. They're heartless, merciless, and cruel. Countless Americans are killed every year by criminal aliens. These are illegal aliens that come in, and they are, in many cases, very bad people. In Houston, Texas, an illegal alien was charged with the murder for killing a 75-year-old grandmother in her home, stabbing her with a vicious machete knife 13 times in the chest. In Georgia, an illegal alien was charged with murder for killing, beheading, and dismembering his neighbor. Yet despite these travesties, the far left supports deadly sanctuary cities where people like that get protection, that release criminal alien predators into innocent communities rather than handing them over to our great heroes of ICE. ICE, they take such abuse. ICE, the toughest gangs in the world, MS-13, they slice people up. ICE takes them out by the thousands.
And there is a stark difference right there. Joe Biden would effectively turn the entire nation into one big sanctuary city. And of course, on the other side of that, you have President Trump, who sides with our immigration laws and with the men and women who enforce them. Brandon, we'll start with you. As it is your people in your council who are guarding the border. When you hear that, when you hear Joe Biden, who wants to be president of the United States, saying that if these folks are elsewhere in the country, commit a crime, and are detained by local police, and they refuse to turn them over to the federal immigration authorities, what does that say about what you guys are trying to do there at the border?
From a law enforcement standpoint, from a professional standpoint, nothing boils my blood more than a presidential candidate who says he's going to ignore the rule of law. He's going to ignore the safety and security of the American public for his own benefit. That is absolutely wrong, and frankly, it's disgusting. When we look at border security, when we look at how we have to patrol the border and keep illegal aliens out, we can't invite them. And what Joe Biden just said is he's going to invite these people to come to our country, to violate our laws, to take our jobs, which is a crime, to get schooling, which is a crime, to everything after the fact. When you cross the border illegally, everything after that is another crime that just adds on top of itself. And for him to ignore that, for him to invite these individuals to break our laws, to put our citizens in harm's way, that is infuriating, and it really disappoints all law enforcement nationwide.
And Congressman Barletta, I know from having worked in your office on Capitol Hill for a number of years that there's a bunch of stories that you tell that your experiences in Hazleton, including when you had folks turn up, illegal aliens turn up in your community who had been arrested and detained and released in New York City and other places. And so you yourselves, as not a sanctuary city, were nonetheless affected by other sanctuary cities. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you know very well, Tim. I didn't need a briefing in Washington to
right.
about illegal immigration. I lived it. I experienced it. And there's nothing that gets my blood boiling more than when we talk about sanctuary cities. I was a mayor that was sued, called names by horrible names all over the country by mainstream media because I wanted to enforce federal immigration laws. And under the Obama-Biden administration, we saw mayors literally all over America thumbing their nose at the federal government and declaring themselves a sanctuary city. It is illegal to aid and abet an illegal alien. I wanted to enforce the federal laws, not create federal laws, but enforce federal laws, and I was sued. And now we have mayors who literally are inviting criminal aliens into their town, aiding and abetting them, protecting them. You talk about an attraction to come to America. Come to America, where would you go? Obviously, you're going to go to a sanctuary city where you're protected. But here's the thing, Tim. There are victims. There are real people, and I saw them, and I sat with them. The final straw for me was a 29-year-old city man. His name was Derek Kishline. He was the father of 3 little children. He was working on his pickup truck, and he happened to have some words with an illegal alien who was the head of the Latin Kings. The illegal alien had been arrested 6 times in New York and let go each time because it's a sanctuary city. He took the life, put a gun between Derek's eyes, shot and killed him. I had to sit with Mr. and Mrs. Kishline when she wanted to know why was her son gone? Why was he dead? The son of her grandchildren dead, and this man was still in the country. And I'm going to give you 3 quick other examples that I experienced firsthand. I was at a hearing with Mayor Bloomberg at a time, and it was talking about illegal immigration with Senator Ted Kennedy and Senator Arlen Specter. And Mayor Bloomberg said at that hearing that New York's economy needed illegal immigrants. Who would wash our dishes? Who would bus our tables? Who would clean our hotel rooms? Well, I'll tell you who will do that. How about the single kid that dropped out of school that can't do anything else but maybe wash those dishes? What happens to that kid? What happens to the mother that maybe has to work 2 of those jobs to put food on her table? Another example, I was speaking at a town hall, and a father came up to me and told me about his daughter, Carly Snyder, 20 years old, studying to be a veterinarian. Beautiful girl. Her next door neighbor was an illegal alien from Houston. Let go. The father was telling me this criminal alien broke into his daughter's house, stabbed Carly 37 times. She bled to death on the kitchen floor. She had knife wounds on the palms of her hand and in her back. I have never forgotten that story, Tim. I have never forgotten that story. And finally, we all remember Mayor Kinney doing that famous dance just a few years ago when Philadelphia was named a sanctuary city. He was so happy he did this beautiful dance. Not shortly after that, not long after that, a criminal alien who was let go by Philadelphia, sanctuary city, raped a 12-year-old girl. There are victims. There are victims. Joe Biden stands with those mayors who want to protect criminal aliens. And Donald Trump, on the other hand, stands with the victims of America. And that's why I was one of the first in this country to endorse him. And that's why Donald Trump's the president today.
Well, and President Trump said something in that clip that you showed. He said that Democratic policies are inhumane, that Joe Biden's policies are inhumane. And the reason he said that is because to get to the United States, to travel through Mexico from Central America, from South America, or from anywhere around the world, to get to the United States-Mexico border, you have to put yourselves in the cartel's hands. You have to put yourselves in these smuggling organizations' hands. When these women and children put themselves into smugglers' hands, which the Democrats obviously support, when they put them in their smuggling hands, they are abused, they are raped, they are kidnapped, they are held for ransom. They are put under extreme and detrimental circumstances solely to come to the United States. If the Democrats truly supported the rule of law, they would stop illegal immigration. They would stop these people from putting themselves into the hands of these violent cartels that care nothing about human life, human sanctity. We've got to stop that. And that's, again, if you compare and contrast Joe Biden to Donald Trump cares about the American public. He cares about the rule of law. He cares about those individuals that are trying to come to this country. He wants them to come legally, not illegally.
Yeah, there's no question that President Trump is on the right side of this issue. And the idea of sanctuary cities, as you two have just laid out so clearly, the idea is so wrong on so many levels. Not only does it place the people who are trying to come to America illegally in danger because of the path they have to take to get here and being at the mercy of the drug cartels and all that as they make their journey. But once they are here, they threaten the jobs of Americans, of law-abiding Americans and legal immigrants. And they also, very many times, as Congressman Barletta has experienced, can inflict great violent crime on the communities where they land. So Joe Biden says that he will effectively turn the entire nation into one big sanctuary nation by advising local police not to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. But he takes that even one step further. He says not only will he not want the local law enforcement to cooperate with the feds, he will also, as president, not deport anyone for the first 100 days, and after that, only felons. You don't have to take our word for it or take my word for it. Let's hear it straight from Joe Biden himself.
In the first 100 days of my administration, no one will be deported at all. From that point on, the only deportations that will take place are commissions of felonies in the United States of America.
So to be clear, only felons get deported and everyone else has to stay?
Yes.
We are finally putting America first. Past leaders transformed faraway nations into blood-soaked war zones. Then they demanded that Americans accept unlimited migration from those same terror-afflicted regions. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, and we're not doing that. As president, I will not allow our immigration system to be used against us. I will not allow political correctness to put our families in danger and our communities at risk. We won't do it.
There you have it. There could It could be no more clear illustration of exactly the difference between these two guys on the issue of illegal immigration. Brandon, Joe Biden, once again, just laying out the welcome mat for illegal immigration and for folks to come here and break our laws to enter this country.
That's crazy talk. You might as well just get rid of borders altogether. If you do not enforce the immigration laws, if you do not deport those individuals that violate our laws, they're going to continue to come. You have to remember there's only about 19,500 Border Patrol agents nationwide. That's all there is. We can Border Patrol agents can only take into custody those individuals that, one, they detect, and two, that they have the resources to take into custody. There are a lot of people that Border Patrol agents will apprehend that will be deported, and they'll just come right back. They continue to try over and over and over again, and eventually they're going to make it. If you do not deport those individuals that make it into our country, that are here, that when they are finally found, if you do not deport them, you're just inviting more. The floodgates will open. If he is elected. That's why we have to get behind Donald Trump.
Yeah, and Congressman, I remember one of the when you were in Congress and you used to talk about illegal immigration, sanctuary cities, and the fact that our laws and borders were not being enforced. In some very sad and tragic cases, they end up like the story of Kate Steinle out in San Francisco, and that really. Stories like that was your motivation for why we absolutely have to take seriously our border control and our immigration laws.
You know, Tim, it makes me laugh when I hear some of my colleagues in Washington talk about, we need to give amnesty first and then we can secure the border. That's equivalent to if you have a hole in the roof of your house, replacing the carpet before you fix the hole in the roof of the house. I mean, it's ridiculous. And that clip of Joe Biden saying that he will deport after the first 100 days, only criminal aliens, that is laughable on its face. How could you actually, with a straight face, tell the American people that you're going to deport criminal aliens? However, you don't support securing the border. And then on top of that, you support sanctuary cities. So people that you've just deported, so-called, can now walk back into the United States and then be protected by a sanctuary city. We know what America will look like under Joe Biden. We know exactly what it'll look like. I was sued by illegal aliens who asked the judge to have their identities kept confidential, which was granted. So I know firsthand what it feels like to watch illegal aliens get treated better and more rights in America than the American citizens. And there could not be a bigger difference between these two gentlemen who are running for president. Joe Biden, we know what America will look like under him.
Yeah, and I think even if we stop right here with this discussion, that would be enough, I think, to indict Joe Biden's policies as being wrong for America and underscore President Trump's policies for being right for America. But there's more, as they say on those infomercials, there's more. Not only will Joe Biden not enforce the laws and let people stay here when they have broken our laws and actually encourage local law enforcement to not cooperate with federal law enforcement authorities, he will also reward illegal immigrants once they're here. If they make it here, he's going to offer them free health care. Let's take a listen.
This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Under your plan, would the 11, 12 million undocumented immigrants that live in the United States that have been here many for generations, would they have access to health insurance?
Yes, if they can buy into the system like everybody else. That's like
because, in ACA they can't.
Yeah, I know. Well, they can. That's my point. They continue to be able to do that.
They cannot under the Obamacare.
Well, that's my point. They will, though. They will be able to buy into, just like, look.
Over 130 legislators in this chamber have endorsed legislation that would bankrupt our nation by providing free taxpayer-funded health care to millions of illegal aliens, forcing taxpayers to subsidize free care for anyone in the world who unlawfully crosses our borders. These proposals would raid the Medicare benefits of our seniors and that our seniors depend on, while acting as a powerful lure for illegal immigration. That is what is happening in California and other states. Their systems are totally out of control, costing taxpayers vast and unaffordable amounts of money. If forcing American taxpayers to provide unlimited free health care to illegal aliens sounds fair to you, then stand with the radical left. But if you believe that we should defend American patients and American seniors, then stand with me and pass legislation to prohibit free government health care for illegal aliens.
And there you see it, another clear example. Joe Biden standing with the radical left on offering free health care to illegal immigrants, those who are successfully here and having broken our laws. And Congressman Barletta, there's no clearer demonstration of this. Joe Biden would let folks come in, let folks break our laws, let them stay here, not cooperate with federal law enforcement authorities. And you might as well put up a flashing vacancy sign like a roadside motel. And not only that, hang another sign under it that says free prizes. Right? I mean, what in the world kind of wrong-headed policy is this?
Yeah, how about this announcement to the world? If Joe Biden gets elected, come to America. You're going to get free health care. You're going to get free food through the Access Card. We're going to give you free college. Then we're going to let you live in a sanctuary city where you're going to be protected by the government so you don't get thrown out. How fair is that to the millions of legal immigrants who waited to come into this country legally, who went through criminal background checks, who went through health background checks, who promised to love America first. If you've ever gone to a ceremony, watching people getting sworn in and holding that little American flag, how meaningful it is to them. It's a slap in the face to those who respect America's laws, come here legally, want a better opportunity, and then we have our own government officials like Joe Biden pulling the rug out from underneath legal immigrants in support of those and encouraging those to come here, take your job, make it harder to work. This is unbelievable. If the very first thing you do when you come to America, the very first step on American soil is to break our laws, you're more likely to disrespect others.
Yeah, that's exactly true. And Brandon, as you look and you represent so many men and women of the Border Patrol at other nations around the world, and other nations protect their borders and have certain rules in effect about entering their countries and what happens to you if you have entered illegally. What does it say to you that Joe Biden, if he were to become president, we would have a president that would effectively wipe out the meaning of our borders? And what does it say to the men and women of the Border Patrol about what it is that they would be doing? If the president himself did not care about the laws and what the border actually means, why even patrol it?
Well, I hope that your viewers noticed that clip of Joe Biden. It's astounding that he didn't even understand the Affordable Care Act. He didn't even understand the act that he played a huge role in passing. But when you look at other countries and them and their border security policies, they do not allow people to come in their countries and take up benefits. If you look at Canada will deport you immediately if you come into their country and you try to work or you try to take benefits. Germany, the United Kingdom, all of those countries, they have very, very strict immigration laws, and you cannot come to their countries, work in their country, take benefits. But when you have a president that looks at this, I have to take this from a law enforcement perspective. The rhetoric. Criminal cartels understand the ebbs and flows of politics here in the United States. They look for the rhetoric. They look to see if presidential candidates are going to support their industry. And clearly, Joe Biden is supporting the industry of criminal cartels that smuggle, that deal in human misery, human suffering, that smuggle people here to the United States. He's clearly supporting that. And from a law enforcement standpoint, it's bad policy, and it is just plain wrong.
Yeah, the human toll is really what is at stake here when you have an open borders policy. And I know the Democrats think that it sounds compassionate, and they are certainly pandering to the extreme left when they lay out policies like that. But but the actual effects of such policies are devastating in communities and to human beings, both here in this country, those who are present illegally, and to the ones who are trying to use those methods to enter into our country illegally. And so I want to move to our final point. There could be no discussion of illegal immigrants without talking about one important factor that President Trump talks about an awful lot, and that is the wall. Let's take a look.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection releasing some video here showing miles of a new border wall system in southern Arizona. This is an area near San Luis. The video on the left shows the new 18-foot wall. On the right is video from 2005 when there was a 10-foot wall in that very same area. The agency says it's built more than 60 miles in the last 2 years. They expect to complete 450 miles by the end of next year.
And so it's funny. Plenty of Democrats supported border wall before President Trump became president. Now that Donald Trump is president, they no longer support it. And you got to lump Joe Biden in that category. So, Brandon, let's talk to you about this finally. Border wall, you represent the Border Patrol agents, men and women who are putting their lives at risk to protect our nation's interests. Do walls work?
Absolutely. I have a great deal of personal experience with walls. If you look back in the mid 90s, San Diego and El Paso was ground zero for illegal immigration. They built walls in San Diego and El Paso, and illegal immigration nearly stopped in those two important corridors. Then if you look in Arizona, where I worked for so many years, in Naco, Arizona, we were arresting over 100,000 illegal aliens per year with just 200 agents. That was pre-wall. The walls were built. Those numbers dropped from 100,000 per year to less than 10,000. That is proof positive that walls work. Walls in strategic locations absolutely allows the Border Patrol to dictate where illegal immigration takes place, which allows Border Patrol agents to be a lot more effective in patrolling the border. They work. We need to support them. Democrats supported the Secure Fence Act. Schumer supported the Secure Fence Act, but all of a sudden he's flip-flopping for political purposes. Joe Biden is doing the exact same thing.
And Congressman Barletta, you were there in Congress during a time before Donald Trump became president, and then for a time after he was president. And I'm sure you witnessed the same Democrat flip-flops that Brandon was just talking about. Some of them before the president was president were for a wall. Since he became president, not so much. I mean, the hypocrisy is staggering, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we can't look at people in Washington and really take what they say seriously. They'll say anything and do anything, depends, what they have to do to get reelected. But this was a man, Donald Trump, who came onto the political scene, and he ran on, I'm going to build the wall. And the American people elected him because of Donald Trump's promise to America. All you have to do is just go to or watch one of President Trump's rallies. I mean, you can't go there without hearing the people just chanting, build that wall, build that wall. I had an opportunity to go down to El Paso, where on private property, the American people actually donated their own money to build a segment of the wall. So yes, it works. Yes, the American people want it. And yes, the wall is a promise that Donald Trump made and Donald Trump kept.
All right. I want to thank you both. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Very, very important discussion. It was important in 2016 in the election, and it will be important again moving forward in 2020. The real difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden on the very serious question of illegal immigration. I want to thank you both for joining me. Congressman Lou Barletta, formerly Congressman from Pennsylvania. Lou, good to see you, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
And Brandon Judd, the president of the National Border Patrol Council. Brandon, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having us. Lou, it was good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Brandon. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. You too.
Tremendous. You both have been tremendous voices and tremendous allies on this issue. And so we invite our viewers to join us again next week on Team Trump Online's War Room Weekly as we look at the serious differences between President Trump's great record of achievement on behalf of the American people and Joe Biden's record of failure over many decades and his terrible ideas for the future. Before we go, I need to remind you to please download the Trump 2020 app, the official app. It's ranked in the top 5 in the news categories in the App Store. It's available right there, right now in the App Store. It allows you to get the straight information, the truth, the real facts from the campaign. You can volunteer for the campaign, register for events just like the one you just watched. You can make phone calls, volunteer phone calls to voters from that app while you're sitting on your couch at home. And by doing all those things, you earn points, and you can trade those points in for great prizes up to and including a picture of yourself with President Trump. So download the app today and get involved and see why everybody is so enthusiastic about re-electing President Trump. Until next week, I'm Tim Murtaugh. Have a good week.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate. Corn Pop was a bad dude. I'm a Democrat. I'm not going nuts.
You'd be the oldest president in American history.
Are you Winston Churchill?
All right, Chuck. Thank you very much.
It's Chris, but anyway.
It would put 720 million back in the workforce. We choose truth over facts.